Hi there everybody, my name is Kate and welcome to my channel, Trinergy Awakens Naturally. I want to talk to you about government, voting, institutions, those kinds of things. I was listening to someone this morning. I do a great deal of research, just trying to see what the ideas are out there, typically as pertains to spirituality. And when I hear spiritualists who are mixing up government, that's one of my particular interests, because we generally, if we're spiritual, and I'm specifically meaning spiritual and not religious necessarily, because religion in the USA anyway has become much more tied into our institutions and our government than I care to want to have to acknowledge. But the truth is that it has. And so I'm not talking about religious institutions specifically. I'm going to leave those out of the conversation for a minute and just talk about spiritualists who, the person that I was listening to today, her title captured my attention because it mentioned something about voting and all this other stuff. And so, okay, well, I'm going to want to hear this, that a spiritualist, a tarot reader, an astrologer, someone is putting their thoughts and their cards or their divination onto a political venue. That's just a particular interest of mine, because many of us follow the world events, current events, and especially in an election year, we're following along, and we might be inclined to listen to a tarot reader who's got skills and is divining and getting, these intuitive hits and stuff and helping us make decisions. That I'm not sure that's such a good idea. I'm going to put it right out there and be honest with you. I know it's not a good idea to take someone else's idea, no matter what idea it is, and take it as our own without checking in with our own intuition. Even if they are a skilled intuitive, a skilled divination user, they can be a lot of things. It still doesn't mean that it's necessarily what they're hearing and what they're saying that they're hearing. Could be a couple of different things, and it could be that what they're hearing is not the most divine thing that it could be. So I really want to always check that with myself. And so anyway, I was listening. I popped her video on and started listening, and there were a couple. The first one was throwing down cards based on is a presidential hopeful in the U.S. Being picked on, essentially. And I thought, I'm only going to need to read this title and probably listen for half a second before I just can't even go any further, because it's already slanted. We've already angled this discussion, and I can almost guarantee you that the intuitive message is already going to be within a certain frequency, because it's already kind of established that, seems that was my intuitive hit, is that it seems like it's already leaning in the direction of, victimhood, and we're going to confirm or deny whether or not there's victimhood. And so I was very correct in that, yeah, I'm uncomfortable with what you're saying. I'm already uncomfortable that we're pulling cards on things like that, really, that seems, and from my knowledge and what I know, is spiritual snooping, that we're doing very well if we can really be clean about our own stuff and what we're doing and how those readings can relate to our own lives, much less putting it out there for the broad public that, this is what's going on because God told me this, Spirit said this message is for you. If it comes across you, it's for you. Yeah, maybe. Might be for me to learn that discernment means I got to go away now. But anyway, that was the first one. It was already seeming pretty angled towards a predisposition, and I was not real impressed with what I heard. That, yeah, okay, it seems that you've already made a decision, and you're going to pull cards that you're intuitively pulling from your own energy. In my opinion, at a minimum, you're starting pulling with that intention that I already think this is something and I need support, and we're going to be able to reach into fields of vibration that will support whatever we believe, whether it's positive, negative, good, bad, whatever. We could always pull energy from any belief that we have. It's a matter of, I want to be pulling energy from the higher source than me. That's why I'm asking, is that I don't know this, or I have a block with this, or I just want to be an open channel for what's the next layer of, information, what's the next echelon of higher dimensional thinking that I can get to. How can I reach that? I don't need support for what I already know or what I already falsely believe or might falsely believe. And for me personally, 444, I always want to be putting it out there that anything that I am unaware of, ignorant of, or that I'm not really pulling in correctly, please allow you to come through me and break up whatever that is, that I can hear you cleanly and clearly. Make me an open channel so that I can hear absolutely clearly and discern very cleanly and clearly and easily what I'm hearing, so that I'm pulling the next layer up or 3 layers up, or however far I can go with my thinking. That if I'm stuck somewhere, or if I think I know something, that's a very good time that I can know a whole lot, and I can always know more. And sometimes, if I need to know more, if I'm starting down in the basement and I'm trying to talk about that I'm on the in the penthouse, that's a great distance for me to know a whole lot more before I really get to what's the most accurate understanding. It's all the same hotel, perhaps. However, one's got a very different view than the other. So anyway, the next person that I came bumbling along with was someone that is very much, I don't know how this is cataloged or how it would be labeled necessarily. It's part of the Ascension crowd. These readings are people that identify in the Ascension crowd. However, some of them use very much biblical stuff. Some of them go very much into devil and the devil's taking over and that hell exists and all of that. And those are things that I don't personally resonate with and that I don't personally subscribe to. However, I'm doing research. I don't have to, like or dislike. I'm discerning. I'm using this as a, how do I learn and listen to my own self about, that doesn't work for me. We need to go this way. So this particular woman, though, I've never really heard her talk about it in that way. I've heard a few of her readings, and she popped up again today. So I was listening, and she was talking about how we have, this is an election year, and she said, for those of you that still subscribe to that government institution. And I'm thinking, 5D is a beautiful concept, and believe me, I live right there. I'm all in it, up in it all day. I'm ready to get there, with getting everybody out of the fray. However, we're not there as a totality. We're not even close. We're at the beginning of this process, really, of moving into the 5D and the age of Aquarius, and out of that age of Pisces. We're in that transition period, and on Earth, we think time goes by real fast. Well, this is cosmic time, where it's been suggested that this transition period is anywhere from 200 years to 2000. So that's a long time. It's going to take more than just my lifetime or even the next one, depending on when you consider that the age of Aquarius started and when the age of Pisces ended. And there's a lot of debate about that. So we need some squish time on Earth to really understand that, for anyone to realistically believe that we're just going to get to New Earth, and get there immediately, that we're all getting there, everybody will wake up, and then all of these problems, are going to just instantly go away. We're all going to be awake, and we're all going to be there at the same point of understanding, is, to me, that's very far-fetched, and that's not what I get. It's not even realistic. There was nothing about New Earth that says to me we're going to move out of what's logical and reality, like reality based on the logic of what we understand and where we're headed, not the reality of what we're looking at necessarily, but the notion of, sorry, I got distracted with a notification. My apologies. That we're seeing reality as it's transmogrifying into 5D. The reality is changing, not the reality of what we used to be. So anyway, she mentioned that, this thing about, for those of you that still subscribe, and I thought, oh no, and she said, if you're going to even vote, if you even want to be bothered, I don't pay attention to any of that myself, as if she had, transcended the need to still identify in her avatar in a 3D body. And this isn't to throw shade, it really isn't. It's just that where I stand on that, and my, and hit on that, and praying about that, thinking about that, and considering that, is that, I do still own a body, and I still have to feed it, and, I have to feed it very specific food. For me, I can't eat certain things. That's just not going to work. You're going to be really sorry if you do that. I have to, do my life a very certain way, and it's just kind of a way that works well for human beings to exercise, to not be, horribly obese or to smoke. There's certain things that seem to really suggest that, yeah, this is for most human beings, this is really going to work well for a healthier lifestyle. It's the same thing as if I just said, well, I can eat whatever I want, do whatever I want, because I have an immortal, soul, which is true, whether I'm healthy in my body or not. My soul is immortal. However, I'd like to still keep using my avatar here, for as long as possible. Let's get this going for as long as possible, so that I can keep doing my job and completing my mission for as long as possible. Then why would I pull out of believing that I've got any responsibility, identity, or anything that I can effectively change in any institution that's still operating on the earth as it's crashing to the ground? The ones here in the U.S., we see them falling down. A lot of them, a lot of old paradigms and old structures are going down. However, they need to be replaced with something, and that transition period has to include the part where it's coming down and the part where it's rebuilding, and all of the people in the middle who have no idea what's been going on, oh dear, and the people who kind of have an idea of, yeah, I see what's happening here, and I have something I can do here. Well, if we just completely ignore the fact that, yeah, this whole building just was demolished, we had, complete demolishment here. If we just pretend like that building is going to come crashing down and suddenly, boop, this new something is just going to instantly, like Bewitched or Santa Claus, or some wave the wand is going to just make something brand new. New Earth is something that arrives. It comes in layers, and it comes in people's awareness. It comes in the scales being removed from their eyes, and it comes by re-educating and informing people about how to vote, how to take care of their body, how to communicate, how to educate, how to, how to worship, how to do all kinds of things. It doesn't just come instantly with pulling out and saying, well, I'm in 5D now. That's fantastic. 1111 is fantastic. I love living, and seeing things from a different perspective, and noticing every animal, in my world that zips by or is letting me know that, hey, I see you. And I love hearing things that are synchronicity that just, really sing to me. And I also know that there's work to be done, that we can't all just pull out and say, well, I live here now, and I just, do this, and I only think positive things, and I only, will notice the positive things, because it leaves a lot of people vulnerable to not understand how they're going to deal with all the negative things that are jumping up 1144 right up in their face, So I'm not one to really subscribe to, I don't vote anymore. I don't believe in that. I don't believe in doing a lot of things that support the old institutions that are failing and falling. However, I do believe in the voting process and the engagement process at whatever level it is to make those changes more sacred, more conscious, and more aware, more woke, enlightened, and make those much more amicable for the entire population, whatever it is. And it isn't going to just happen all of a sudden. We do have to have some sort of education period and transition period that we acknowledge, in my humble opinion. That's not to say that if that woman's best work is to pull out and not vote anymore and not pay attention to the news and, live in 5D bliss, that's fantastic. However, I caution, working with people who, I read the comments, just to kind of see, what is that collective of people thinking or saying or doing, and they're right there with it. They, I just don't support that. Like, well, that's really fantastic. However, if you're not really supporting doing high-level energy work in place of that, you may or may not. I don't know. I mean, I'm not interviewing all those people, but if you're not really doing things to, work on energy in the background, what are you doing that you are effectively changing and making a change about, instead of, just supporting somebody else who has that vision? Maybe they share that, and maybe they're just watching these, channels all day and making decisions because that person said that, which is the old system. It's just dressed up in a, holier looking way or a more sacred looking way. And it sounds really good. And for some people, the people that monk, and, you can monk away and be a hermit and you never come out of that meditative state. I'm glad. I'm happy to know there are people like that. However, we have millions and billions of people that aren't anywhere near that state of being, nor are they going to be anytime soon. So, they're not going to resonate, and they're not going to get a lot of benefit from somebody who lives on a mountainside in the Himalayas, and spends all their time doing that, and they've got no engagement with government or institution of any kind. Where does that help the people, the lay people, if you will, of the world who, they just get cast off into hell? Okay, well, assuming that hell doesn't, let's have some backup plans. I'm a former paramedic, so I like to have my contingency plans. What's the disaster plan on that? That just in case, you're not right or I'm not right, or we need to backup plan here that hell isn't opening up and all these terrible, awful dumbasses aren't just falling into it and going away, and we're arriving on New Earth. We're leaving this planet, being sucked up and taken to Mars or wherever. Let's just go on the premise that that might not be the way that is. What's the backup plan for that? How do we deal with that? And it's to, in my humble opinion, it is to be working in the institutions where we are engaged, and pulling out very much so from those places that they're going down. Let them go down. Let them self-destruct. And here in the U.S., we see the political arena. Part of it is self-destructing beautifully. And for me to just pretend like that I'm not going to vote because it'll just work itself out, well, I'm part of that process if I'm helping it to get better by voting and taking an active role in, yes, I absolutely denounce this. And whether I'm in love with that other side or not, I denounce this, but I'm going to actively choose what I do have in this institution. That it might blow up and Kate could be wrong and we arrive on Mars or wherever we're going next, in a spaceship that's sucking us up. I could be wrong, and I'm happy to admit that or say that or own that. However, it's, not how it's coming into me, and I'll take it, if I'm wrong, I can handle that. But let's back up the idea that, what's our backup plan, that perhaps it's not that. Maybe I need to take a more engaged role, that's more educated, that's more involved, not necessarily just in voting. It just so happens that this is a year with a whole lot of influence where religion is being tapped hard and spirituality is being tapped hard, because it's got kind of a hard right angle on it with, I just don't do this. And extremism anywhere, I've not ever seen that work well. Even extremism in, following 5D concepts, that we still live here. And unless we're going to just become translucent and have no need for body or no need to have food, water, safety, or shelter or anything like that, then we still have, a need to be feeding our avatar, watering it, having the needs of that met through whatever institutions we're having to deal with while we're making that transition, while we're helping this move from that old paradigm into the new paradigm, which however long it takes. We've been at it for quite some time, this transition, and we're going to be at it. As I said, there's debate about how long this could last, but it's going to be more than just, a couple more days or a couple more years. It could be another couple of 100 years. It could be another couple of 1,000. But the more people that we get engaged with, hey, pay attention and perhaps, lose the extreme versions of how you do anything, whether you're voting or not, whether you're, eating burgers or not, whether you're, sucking down Diet Coke and watching TV, be careful, because the extremism is where the problem lies, and that is part of the old age and picking up sides, that this side is better or that side is better. And by just denouncing the whole entire institution, 1788 of voting, for instance, or not going to church. I'm not going to go to church. These are very extreme things, which it's fine, if we choose not to do that. But let's come from a balanced place that we make the choice instead of just starting on the extreme and then sticking with it because we bought the extreme version of something. I really, the minute I start getting, real hard right, hard left something, that's my cue of, yeah, I need to slow down here, because it doesn't mean that I won't choose, right on one side or the other. I'm not going to be, just blasé in the middle about everything. Sometimes I need to take an absolute stance. However, something along those lines, I really want to make sure that I'm giving it the time on deck to decide from a balanced place and not start from an extreme version, whether it's right or left, up or down, doesn't matter. Pick any topic you want to. So anyhow, I hope that that's helped you and perhaps give you something to consider, not just as you're thinking about voting, about where you work or how you raise your kids, how you communicate, what kind of food you eat, whether you, buy organic or not, whether you, exercise or not, whether you use psychedelics or not, how we do anything, your banking, do you fortify a bunker? Is that what you need to do? It all boils down to where's the balanced ground for me. And when I hear a lot of extreme positions, no matter what they are, that's gets me thinking, and I enjoy that. I really do. I enjoy that because it makes me stop and really get very solid in my position so that I know my decision about that is this. And I'm not sure that we have people that are doing that whenever I'm reading through comments and it just sounds like, not exactly sycophants, but just slobbering along behind somebody that you don't even know this person. And we have that on a global scale going on. We definitely have it on a national scale in the U.S., and we do have it on a global scale. We have a lot of fascists and dictators and communists running around, making sure that other people have that mind murder thing, under wraps. That you don't know you're being mind murdered, but you are, because you're not allowed to really think for yourself. You're not really allowed to act for yourself, and you're really much allowed to make extreme decisions that are made out of fear. And so I never want to be leaving myself in a position where I'm making a decision from a fear base of any kind or a lack understanding. And that seems to me that, you're lacking faith that an institution can transform into something that's more serviceable for everybody. And I don't know how we think we're going to get by with absolutely no structure whatsoever. Obviously, it needs to change because it is changing. It's not changing because I said so. It's what I'm seeing is it is changing, and it's backed up with what I get in spirit. But for me to just withdraw, from all the institutions and all this, okay, well, whatever. So I'm back to repeating myself. Take care of yourself, as I said, and enjoy your day, whatever part of the day you're in. And remember, get within your skin, because your divine is absolutely fine and knows how to vote on everything, every single time. Take care of yourself, beautiful friends, and I will see you again next time. Goodbye.